My name is Alexander Radchenko. I'm Chief Executive Officer of Rodeni AG. And welcome to the webinar of the Demystifying Digital series, a series of our free webinars for business stakeholders, where we at Rodeni, together with our partners from around the globe, we are trying to share our experience in enabling business with IT solutions. And today, the topic we have is actually new in our portfolio, because we've been doing a number of webinars on disruptive technologies and new methodologies and techniques for over 2 years now. But recently, we identified a need to support organizations and all kinds of organizations, starting from early stage startups or just people having a business idea and up to large multinational enterprises in launching IT product services or new business offerings enabled and supported by the IT solution. I wouldn't say this topic is something totally new. It always wasn't really easy to deliver something valuable to the market, even though we support of the modern technologies. But over the course of last half a year, we see a massive changes in trends and perception and the goals and the circumstances under which different kinds of the organization are trying to launch something new under this new harsh conditions we all experiencing. So that's how this idea emerged, because we've been discussing that with a number of our partners and clients. And what we can see is that many companies, they tend to deliver something new to the market, adapting to the new reality. At the same time, many organizations, they are not doing that right, if you know what I mean, especially in the situation when most of the companies, they're extremely sensitive to the long-term investments. And together with our partners, today, this is the software development and service company called MindKey. We would like to share some practical tips, and using over the decade of experience MindKey has in helping clients from the United States, Europe, Israel, Australia, globally, in launching, making first and successful steps in bringing new products to the market.
We are MindKey, a software development company, and for the last 11 years, we worked with clients all around the globe. We develop web and mobile applications for startups, for small businesses, and for the enterprise market. And I think we developed more than 130 projects of different complexity and different size. So this talk is completely based on our experience and experience of our clients, and is 100% practical. And I'm happy to share the stage today with my colleague Marina.
Yes, hi everyone. Very happy to be on this webinar. So a little bit about me. I am a certified PMP and also certified Scrum Master, and I've been working in IT for more than 5 years now. And during this time, I was handling different kinds of projects, starting from large software as a service platforms, different CRM-like systems, custom web applications, and of course, startups. So today, I hope that we're able to share our experience, as Alex said, that we have gathered throughout all of these years of a practical work, and that you're able to take away some of the valuable knowledge with you.
I think it's important to mention why we want to talk about this topic. As you can see on this diagram, there are several reasons for new product or startup failure. There are a lot of factors that are connected with lack of product market fit and also with marketing problems. It might be surprising to many of you that actually technical issues actually are not the biggest one. So today we'll try to focus on product market fit strategies in terms of software development. Let's say you have a great idea for a software product to be developed, or you got a project from your management team to develop and launch. So as Marina said, there are several ways or several techniques that you can use to start the new product development. We tried to draw them on this schematic diagram with the idea to show that some of them actually take a lot of efforts, meaning time, money, and also taking risk on your side. But some of them, especially the ones to the left, are actually cheap, and they won't take you a lot of time to use. You can start with any of these steps. It doesn't mean that you have to pass through all of them, but we try to show that skipping one or several steps would mean that you are using more efforts, and also you are taking more risk on your shoulders before you know the product market fit. And the good part is that even with a little efforts and time spent, you can still get the necessary result. And that result is a possibility to get feedback from your end customers as soon as possible. So if you apply these steps one by one, you will be able to gather feedback after each step is finished. And that's actually should help you to minimize the gap between your product and its features and what actually the market needs.
But before we go into a bit more detail of each of these techniques, I would like to discuss some of the methodologies that are actually laying in the core of them. One of these is the lean startup. It's not something new, so you might have heard of it before, and it's actually gaining popularity more and more every year. So this methodology and the lean startup principles were created by Eric Ries. He's an American entrepreneur that has been working, consulting different startups and advising them how they can succeed. So in his book, The Lean Startup, he talks about this build, measure, learn feedback loop, as you see on the slide. And what he says is that the fundamental activity of a startup is to turn ideas into products, measure how the customer responds, and then learn whether you want to pivot or persevere. And even though these steps like build, measure, learn go in this way, it doesn't have to be strictly in this order. After all, it is a cycle, so it can be different depending on your project. Another approach or methodology that we want to talk about is Agile. And we actually have a separate webinar on this topic, so we're not going to go in very deep details about it. But basically, in short, Agile allows you to create a shippable product in short amount of time. So the whole product is split into iterations, or they are also called sprints in Scrum framework. And the sprints are usually done 2 to 4 weeks. So then at the end of every sprint, you get a potentially shippable product that you can actually release to production, and you can already give it out to the users so they could start testing and letting you know whether they like it or not, what kind of features they find interesting, if they have any issues with UX, etc., etc. And if we compare the Agile approach with more traditional approach, for example, it can be waterfall, as you see on the right up corner, where in blue, we have 50% done of the product. So if we do the product Scrum way, for example, and you have done 50%, this means that this actually 50% is usable by people. So you can you may stop even at this phase and people can still use your product. Whereas if we go for 50% done in traditional approach, this means that the product can't be used because it's probably not tested or not even coded fully. So this is like one of the greatest benefits of Scrum, is that you get a part of a product every single 2-4 weeks, and you can get a constant feedback all the time. And you might be also wondering, how does Agile and Lean Startup connect with each other? And basically, Lean Startup combines Agile and Lean approach in customer development. So basically, Agile tests the product against users, whereas Lean Startup tests the product against the market. And the key concern for Agile is to create a product that doesn't work. And the key concern for Lean Startup is to avoid creating the product that people don't need. But you see here that these two approaches are interconnected with each other on the build phase. But actually, Agile is not only a methodology, it's also a mindset. So it allows you to be more flexible. It allows you to react to the change of their environment quickly. So I would say that Agile as a mindset lays in the core of the Lean Startup principle.
You really need to get feedback from your customers as early as possible, and take that feedback into account for future development steps. And as we said already, there are several techniques that can allow you to do that easily and quickly. So let's say you have an idea, and even before you want to start producing that idea, it's actually worth checking out if it's something that end customers would need, so to say, to validate your idea. And there are several ways to do that. One simple way is to build a plain landing page, and you even don't need to know programming to do that. You don't need to hire a development team to help you with that. Nowadays, there are many resources that can help you build your simple landing page using just graphical user interface and some configuration. We mentioned two of them here. It's Webflow and Wix.com, but there are more than those too. So if you Google no-code development, you will find a lot of resources like that. But by doing this, you get at least two benefits. You have something to present to people, so it's easier to explain what actually your product does and what problem it solves. And you can also use this landing page when you outreach to your potential customers. So the advice that we always give to our clients is, even before you start thinking about features or before you start planning the development phases with the development team, it's 100% worth to outreach to your potential customers, ask them whether it's something that they would use, make a survey, make a simple landing page to show your idea. And again, the greatest benefit from that is that even without investing $1 in software programming, you actually get feedback that you can take into account further on. Another option is connected with product design. So instead of creating real features, you can start with a clickable design prototype. Again, there are many tools on the market, like Figma or InVision app, that you can use. You don't need to hire a development or design team, especially if you don't want to focus on the finished design, but you would rather want to show the workflow of your application to potential customers. And again, that's something that is much cheaper than developing real functions, but you still get the same benefit. You can show it to your potential customers, you can show it to your potential investors or product sponsors, and you can get a necessary feedback that you will use on the later stages of the development.
And after you have validated your idea, or maybe you have decided to skip this step and go straight to product discovery, basically that is a 2-3 days full workshops where usually we have product owner or sponsor. We have different domain experts, stakeholders from business side as well. And of course, we have some representatives from the technical team. And basically what we're doing during these workshops, we firstly defining the goals of the product. We are defining the key audience and key functionality. And usually that is done through creative brainstorming workshops. So how we did it in one of my projects, everyone from all of the representatives came up with a bunch of ideas of what kind of features need to be included in the product. And then we would put them up on the board, and each of us would vote for the feature or idea that we think was the best one and brought the most value. And basically that really helped us not only to understand how everyone thinks and to align everyone to the same level, but it also helped us to rate and prioritize these features. So we understood which ones brought the most value and which ones brought the least value, so they probably could be developed in like next phases. And another like approach that we have used is everyone drew a little sketch of how they imagined the product should look like, and then we just presented this work and everyone explained what they had on the sketch. And again, that really helped us to understand the product better, and that also helped our designer to get some inspiration for the future prototypes. And actually, the UI prototypes is also one of the outcomes after the product discovery. It's important to mention that like the whole product discovery doesn't only last 2-3 days. We do have 2-3 days workshops, but after the workshops, there's also some work that it can be done by designers, or if you have business analysts, they probably need to put it up into like features or put it up to the backlog. So it can take several weeks in total.
First of all, talking about outcomes, there's usually lots of conversation with clients or the project stakeholders in regard to what kind of documentation the product discovery phase shall produce. I mean, if we're doing this close interaction and collaboration in between the business team and technology team for 2-3 days workshop, do we expect to produce like a summary document, which is like outlining the key features, and effectively it's going to be like several slides, maybe 3-5 of them? Or after having this workshop, we have to take a pause and say, we want to have a full-fledged requirements document, which may be like a 50 or 100 pages document. So what's your view on that?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Alex. Very good question. So it totally depends on what methodology you have decided to use on your project. So if you have decided to go for a more traditional approach like waterfall, then probably there should be some time after these workshops that it can be 2-3 weeks for a business analyst to define the requirements and provide the specification. So that like waterfall approach has a more excessive amount of the documentation that is produced after the product discovery. On the other hand, if you have approach like Scrum or any other Agile framework, it says that there shouldn't be much documentation. So it's usually some kind of vision document which defines the like problem statement and the goals, and also it's prioritized backlog with features and maybe some little description. So it depends on the methodology that you have decided to use in your project.
Right, thank you for that. And just for me to understand, the product discovery as the approach is effectively methodology agnostic. So it doesn't really matter if before or after this workshop you decide go in Scrum team way, or you say, no, it's too big or too complex, or we as an organization, we cannot run it this way. So therefore it's going to be traditional waterfall approach.
I think it's applied. It can be applied to any project management methodology. Basically, the outcomes that we displayed here, they are useful regardless of the project management methodology you will choose for the later development, especially the ones with the KPIs and alignment between all stakeholders. That's something that you will want to have regardless of the software development methodology you choose. Let's say that you validated your idea, you created some landing pages, clickable prototypes, and you actually gathered some feedback from potential customers, and some of them said, yes, we would use this product when it's built. Now it's actually time to create some real features. And again, there are several ways to do that. Of course, you can go to full product development and gather all the features you discussed during the product discovery phase and just estimate them and set deadlines and wait for the final product to be finished. However, again, I'm referring to the main idea we're trying to tell today is that you need to get feedback as fast as possible, and probably you don't know all the features your end customers need, and also it might be that some of the features that you imagined together with your team should be completely different for your end customers. So one of the approaches that you can apply here is actually start with proof of concept. Proof of concept is a version of a product with just a minimum amount of features to verify that your core concept or theory has practical potential. It gives you a lot of benefits. The main benefit is that actually you can test the feasibility of your solution. It's cheap. It doesn't take a lot of time because you only focus on the core feature or maybe several core features of your product. So basically you're focusing on what makes the kind of the essence of this whole idea, and you put all the rest aside. For example, in web application development, that would mean that you don't do any user management functionality. You don't focus on login or logout features, registrations. You even don't need to worry about data and data storages. You just focus on them on one or two key functionalities. So you save a lot of time, but again, you can show this concept to your potential customers and to your potential investors. You need to remember that proof of concept is a version of a product that is not market ready. So and that's kind of the downside of it. And also some of your users or maybe even your investors might think that that's the finished product, while it's only proof of concept. It is what it says. So by applying proof of concept, you can save a lot of time, but still get the result that you want. And we want to share several cases from our portfolio. The first one is a young startup from the United States. They are musicians, designers, producers, creative people that wanted to disrupt the sound market. So they wanted to find a better way for people to create music loops and sounds, to share them, and to sell and buy them. So together with our client, we started with a proof of concept. In this case, we preloaded only 20 musical loops and sounds. We did that manually. We didn't focus on creating a music library and possibility to manage that for different user groups. We didn't do any login functionality, user management, and so on. We focused only on the core part. And the core part was that they wanted a Tinder-like possibility to set your preferences based on your musical taste, based on the instruments that you like, and to have a very quick and easy way to search through different suggestions and decide whether you want to add that musical loop or sound to your library and further buy it. As you can see on this slide, it took us only 5 weeks to develop this proof of concept with a pretty small team from our side. And after that, our client was able to present this to several potential users. And what's more important, they were able to secure funds for the future development from investors. And now we are working on the fully functional product with them.
We'd like to also discuss a little bit the minimum viable product that I have mentioned before, and we also have several practical cases that we will mention that hopefully can help you as well with your new product. So again, what is MVP? That is that version of a new product which allows the team to collect the maximum amount of validated learning about the customers with the least effort. And actually, the primary benefit of MVP is that you can gain an understanding about your customers' interest in your product without actually fully developing the product. And Oleg, if you can switch to the next slide, please. You can see some of the other benefits that MVP has, and also some of the downsides. And one of them is actually poor prioritization. So that can cause actually spending more time on your product. So the problem that we have noticed some of the customers have is that they have really hard time choosing which feature should go to MVP and which shouldn't. And a lot of them think that, yeah, all the features are important and we should do this fancy search function. And then we try to advise them saying, well, does this fancy search engine really brings you the value to the product? Does it help you understand if the product will be used by the customers? If the answer is no, then this shouldn't go into MVP. And you might also be wondering what is actually the difference between MVP and proof of concept. And as Oleg mentioned, proof of concept is not a market-ready solution, whereas MVP is, because it already includes such version of the product that satisfies the customer. So that is like the biggest difference between those two.
To me, minimum viable product is really minimum in a sense that we normally sacrifice most of the functionality of the full product, and we implement only those features which are critical to test the core of the value chain. And first of all, as you mentioned, actually, so we focused on our interaction with the clients through this system. So therefore, is it probably fair to say that the flexibility of this solution is limited, the scalability is limited. We not necessarily have all the internal integrations. And we normally, if we have to sacrifice something to make it really minimum viable product, and therefore not invest too much upfront, we normally don't implement most of the functionality in the back office. because what we wanna, because the feedback we need to, first of all, we need feedback from the market. So therefore, as you said, we implement the front office features, not the backend features. And then probably we are in the same trap as with proof of concept sometimes, because we doing this nicely wrapped prototypes and the clickable landing pages or whatever, and our clients say, okay, we are very happy about that. We want to start using it Monday, and then we say, yeah, that's great, but you know what? Now we need 6 months to do the back office integration. So from your experience, how it normally works?
Yeah, good question, Alex. Actually, this is also kind of relates to this project. So yeah, because we didn't develop the back office at first, the system did have limitations, and we did need to do a lot of like some of the manual work for uploading stuff. But I think in the long run, that was still a positive thing. Because as soon as the sponsors can see the potential of the product, the like more willing they will be to fund it. And yes, you do need to be open about what exactly you have developed, because they might be an illusion that you have a fully functioning product, even though you're not. So I think the main part here is to really involve your sponsors as much as you can, be open with them, what you have actually done so far. And I think this can help you to overcome this challenge.
There is also another side of MVP, and we saw that with some of the clients that we worked before, is that actually taking the first word minimum to the extreme. So it's important to remember that it's actually minimum viable product. It's not only a minimum product. So if you focus only on several features that are not like the core of your solution, then the product doesn't give any value. And in this case, it doesn't make sense to release this product as soon as possible. So it should be a balance between minimum and viable functionality. Another example of ours is our client from the Silicon Valley. They wanted to disrupt the way people hire engineers globally. So basically, they wanted to change the way how these services are provided by developing a platform to rule all the processes there, instead of getting those services through traditional consultancy way, by phone calls, emails, long talks, and so on. So the audience for this product was quite wide. So this basically, it can be any company that is willing to hire globally. It can be a small company with 5 employees, or it can be a global company with thousands of people. So different companies, different type of organizations need different features. So to limit the MVP and to launch it as fast as possible, together with our client, we decided to focus only on one user group, which is small business, and that gave us a lot of flexibility and kind of free up our time because we only focused on the features for that user group, and we didn't promote the product to other user groups, because we knew that they will see some gaps, and for sure they will not be positive to use the product without those features. And it's also important to mention that the development of the product started right at the beginning of the lockdown this spring, and the team had to split and work from home, which was not the typical process for the team. However, by having a very close collaboration with our clients, by setting the right priorities and by sticking to those priorities, we were able to release a fully functional MVP in just 3 months. And the feedback our client got from their customers was great, because many of them even asked how much time it took us to develop this platform, and they were quite surprised that it took only 3 months. Two of them said that they would say that it's a product which should take you 1 year to develop.
We just want to summarize some of the practical tips on where you can start with your new product. So the first, again, if you have an idea, first validate it by building a landing page or sending out a survey or creating a clickable prototype, just to make sure that it is the right idea and it is going to be used by other people. Then another point, please find or build a reliable team. And although we didn't mention much about this, but we do have several articles on our blog that you can have a little read if you have time. And we will post a link in chat with like a checklist and the summary of our presentation. And that's where you can find those links. Then having creative workshops, brainstorming workshops with the team can really help you to define which path to take in product development and also help you with priorities as well. And important thing is, don't start with something big. Start with something smaller, take it step by step, start with a proof of concept or MVP, because that will allow you to get the understanding from the customers if they're really interested in your product. And try to do it in shorter iterations. So every single 2-4 weeks, get out some kind of functionality and test it with beta users and get their feedback. And then retrospect with your team. So think what kind of things you can improve inside the team and also in your product as well. And then if your attempts to tune MVP to something that is improving or growing is not really helping, probably it's a sign that you need to pivot. But again, remember, pivot is not a failure. It's just shifting your ideas to some other product strategy.